The Traigun is a little bit longer than the MP511. It made him a little insecure. He's 4 inches longer. But we all know it's not the size of the rubber, but the glide of the pad that matters. This is Lord Gerchulo. Welcome back to Zorz Gaming. We're going to do a little quick take of the two mouse pads you saw in the previous video when I reviewed the MM731. Link in the description for that. The Traigun versus the MP511 XL. I got the XL. I like things large sometimes. I love the MP510. I loved this thing. This was the first time I was introduced to Cordura. It's just got that rough texture. It was a whole new experience for me. You know, I was coming from the Talent and the Quick, the GSR, and then I got the 510, and I just felt like it was so much more fun. It was zippy, it could stop. And so since then they've tried to upgrade Cordura with the MP511, the continuation, and the Traigun. It says in the little, there's a little piece of paper in the Traigun box that says you have to call it Traigun. You can't just say Traigun. You're not allowed to do that. I got bad news. The MP511, it didn't sit down flat. This isn't the days where I go on the forum and I say, how do I get the mouse pad to be flat? Somebody's like, take your college book and put it on there overnight. Nah, dude. We're beyond that now. Now it needs to sit flat out of the box, which the Traigun did fine, no problem. But maybe it can make up for it in ability. The Traigun is actually, it is longer, which means that you get the 500mm vertical. Now, if you're playing a 6 degrees game, like a Descent, and you guys remember playing Descent? Descent was sick. My dad would watch me play Descent and be literally like unable to, he would get dizzy just watching me play Descent. But if you're playing something like that in your ultra low sense, you might need to go up 500mm. There's lots of options for sizes, by the way. These are just the two that I got. We're gonna get into detail. We're gonna check glides. We're gonna check stopping power on different mouses, different sensors. One thing I will say that's very critical, the MP511, okay, it has this little sample. You see the little sample? It's just a sample. It reminds me of the good old days. Do you remember? It's a Sunday afternoon. You'd walk into Fry's and you'd say, excuse me, which aisles are the mouse pads? And then bam, you could go in and you could touch it. Hey, look, Jimmy. This is what the pad's gonna feel like. Now it's just clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clack, clack. Oh, the convenience of being delivered to your door, but there's zero heart, no feelings. You don't get a chance to bond with it. Can you imagine ordering a pet online? Where's the fun in that? Where's the heart? Where's the American spirit? I miss going to the store. I still really enjoy this texture. It's a little bit rough on the wrist, but I think that just adds to the charm. You can even hear it. It moves initially, and then it grabs you, it sinks you into the earth. It's like the MP510 is like, no, stop. I will stop you. What I liked about it was that it felt like a control pad with an additional slide factor. Now if I go back to the Traigun, killing fools with the Traigun. It's definitely faster. Initial friction is way less, significantly noticeable. I would say overall it's just a faster pad from initial friction to stopping power even. When I went to go check the website, I found out that X-Raypad also agrees with that assessment. They're putting the Traigun underneath the Heian and above the MP510, which is, according to them, below the GSR SE. Doesn't stick perfectly. The stitching here, not the best. It's almost framed. Tried it with all the different sensors. That's the Hero, Final, 3370, 3360, 3389. No problem anywhere. It doesn't push in much, although it's soft. The base is a little bit of it's kind of a sticky rubber base. Almost I wonder what it would be like to play on that side. Around 3 millimeters thick. Here's some glide. Very grainy. Due to the amount of texture, it does really stop pretty well, in my opinion. This is from X-Raypad. They have tons of different sizes. They got a 14 by 11, 15 by 15, 17 by 15. This is the 19.68, almost 20 by 20. And get the XXL, which is actually the size of my MP510 and 511. The one that's in front of me, the square, is 2690. And you get a pretty good Cordura experience. On the Cordura world, it's definitely one of the slower ones. X and Y on the Traigun are very similar, if not the same. In my testing, I couldn't find any noticeable difference. Get some! Get some! Oh, hey, hey. Get some! Checking the X and Y axis different using paint. Now obviously this isn't going to be perfectly technically accurate, but it's close enough for government work, as my mom likes to say. About the same. Look at this. Grabs you, stops you, major texture, grainy, zippy, light, faster. You can even see right here the grip pattern is quite a bit different. It has very low initial friction. It feels almost slippery. It is very vastly different than the MP510. Now they're saying it's an upgrade in every sense of the word. I don't know about that. The texture is almost micro texture. You can almost hear it. I almost felt like I had to lower my sensitivity with this, because not only does it move extremely low initial friction, but it actually doesn't stop. Here's the base, looks very similar. I'm trying to conceal it, but it's not flat. Price-wise, they're about the same. 31 for the Traigun and 34 for this. This is in stock on Amazon. This is almost hard pad-like. Sensor-wise, I didn't have any problems. Heat, I didn't notice as anything, although the Traigun seemed like it might be more more resistant to weather change. The stitching is a little bit nicer than the Traigun as far as the framing. It's not as harsh, but just the whole thing is so smooth. It keeps going, see? Can't really get those really serious micro long distance shots with this thing. But this is all a matter of preference. In order of speed, you essentially have MP510. Then you have the Traigun. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say Traigun? I meant Traigun! It's almost like the in-between between the MP510 and the MP511. It's like it moves as quick as the MP511, but it has enough texture where you have more ability to stop it. Look at that. It's a little too much for me. And of course, if you're on a heavier mouse, you might get a little more out of it, but, and of course feet come into play. Get some! I'm all about the Cordura life. Cordura reminds me of my backpack back in school, in middle school, when I went to Blockbuster to steal games. Y'all did that too, right? Remember snowboard kids? Got straight jacked. I straight jacked them for snowboard kids. Snowboard kids! This game was elite. Now you would think that 510 plus 1 is better, right? 510 plus 1 equals plus better, right? Wrong, as Arnold would say. There is no better in the land of mouse pads. There's just different. Here's some controversial ass shit. I think not only do you have the mouse and the feet, which of course are going to dictate how the pad responds, but you also have the game you're playing. If you're playing one of these newer games, super fast paced, running and jiving and sliding around and you're spraying machine gun fire at a guy, they don't really reward pinpoint precision accuracy as a priority. you're playing that kind of game, an MP511 might just be perfect for you. Might just suit you just fine. On the other hand, if you're playing a game that requires a one bullet, you want to fire one bullet and kill a guy in one shot from mid or long range, you're going to want that extra dynamic friction, the stopping power of the Traigun. It still has that low initial friction, so you can get that kind of that quick movement in, but you can kind of, you know, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. They're both good pads. I wish they both sat flat on the desk, but we can't have everything. I really hope Coolermaster keeps making the MP510, because honestly, I prefer that pad over both of these. It just has the control of a control pad, but it has that initial friction of a harder pad. It's a pretty great pad. I didn't do the water test because I think if you're spilling water on your mouse pad as a selling point, you got other problems, frankly. Only noobs spill water on their mouse pad. Seems like everybody's doing their take on a Cordura pad these days. I know I got the MP510 coming and the MP510 because I want to try them all. I even got this Eve pad Cordura coming, and I'm pretty excited about that. Eventually, once I've experienced the entire Cordura planet, I will do a little rundown of all the Cordura pads. As we trudge the journey of Cordura together, will the MP510 reign supreme? Snowboard Kid! I hope you've enjoyed this discussion about the mouse pads as we take a moment to practice non-judgment and accept ourselves as the Zorz people who would watch a 12-minute video, or even worse, create one, about a mouse pad. Apparently I got a few dislikes on my last video, and clearly it means that these people need a new mouse pad. They can't aim properly. Get some! So hit that like button, subscribe, stay f***ing Zorz, you know what to do. Oh, my phone is pissing me off. Boy, I take pleasure in gutting you. Boy, I take pleasure in gutting you. Boy.